the show we are discussing today is The Bear, which is on Hulu. I think it's originally started on FX, or it's on FX also. I don't
Yes.
have FX, so this is definitely a big spoiler alert because we're going to be talking about The Bear season 2, episode 7, called Forks. But if you haven't heard of The Bear, it is about a young chef from the world of fine dining who comes home to Chicago to run his family's Italian beef sandwich shop after the suicide of his older brother, who left behind debts, a rundown kitchen, and an unruly staff. And I got that just to credit from Wikipedia. All right. So I guess I wanted to start with, why did you pick The Bear? And then we can go to why you picked the episode.
Yeah. So, I mean, The Bear, it's all of these people in this show are hurting in some way, or have repressed issues, stress, trauma, right? That they're trying to work out in their life's work, in their professional work. And it's beautiful to see how each and every one of these people in this show, these characters, develop through that. Besides that, I have to say, because I consider myself a writer, that the writing on this show is so spectacular.
Yeah.
It just, everything flows, the build. It's like a beautiful piece of music, the way the crescendos and the, all these different things that happen in the show itself, or even in each episode. I feel like it's very artistic, and every person in this particular show is a creative, and that's part of their suffering, that they're trying to like achieve perfection, which we can't really achieve in this life, but but it is that sense of self that we're trying to kind of overcome and be what we want to be. So that's why I picked that show. And then that episode we'll talk about soon enough.
All right. Well, let's get into the episode. This is interesting too, because this episode is all about Richie. And I really struggled with the character of Richie to like him. I kept finding myself like, oh, I really don't like him. I really don't. And I'm trying to look for the good in him. And it's interesting because the episode before that was, I think, the 7 fishes, or I mean, it was about Christmas Eve or Christmas Day dinner. Man, that was very intense, that episode. But Richie, in that, at least we got to see him in the past with his ex-wife, and when she was pregnant, and he was very sweet, and just see a different side of him. So anyway, with this episode, I was like, oh, it's all about this one. Okay. He gets sent basically to the quote best restaurant in the world, which I found out where they filmed it or based off of was a restaurant called Ever. But there is no such thing as this restaurant, obviously. He thinks he's being sent away to get rid of, to not have him be around, and bug the rest of the people at the restaurant that they're trying to open in like 4 weeks. But really came down to, he's really there to learn about what it is to be in service or to be of service, because Richie is not a chef, right? He's the one that's not a chef. He is the customer person, right? And he's the register person. So I think he too struggles to see where he fits in and feels like a burden in a way too. And he's not really their cousin, even though he calls himself their cousin. And they always kind of remind him that he's not their cousin, which is kind of rude. He's supposed to stage, right? Stage is what it's called.
Stage,
it's stage though. And then I was like, to write it down. I read it. I was like, okay, stage. He has to clean all the forks. That's what he's assigned for a week. And he's definitely not happy. And Garrett is the person who seems to be in charge of him and is being a really major stickler about it. But as the week goes on, he really starts taking everything in and realizing that this restaurant's number one priority is the customers or patrons experience. And it is about service and serving other people. It's funny. I don't know if I think it's called Reservations. I should have looked it up. There was a movie. It was on HBO. I think it was HBO called Reservations, and it reminded me a little bit of that movie. And it's nothing like it. Just with that, they kept saying, "Chef says this. Chef is always watching." The movie was a little bit of a horror movie, but so it reminded me of that. But it didn't not end up being like that at all. So what was I going to say? They have a staff member who their job is to basically focus on researching their patrons and soon to be patrons, and they want to give them an experience. It's interesting because to me, the decor and the feel of the restaurant was actually very cold, and all of that, and like Men in Black feeling, and they're all wearing these black suits, but it's not. They're actually extremely caring and warm. So I just found that interesting that they did it like that. I guess more, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that was to surprise us, or what do you think about that?
I think somewhere in the episode when Richie finally gets to put on the suit and he says it's like putting on armor, and Garrett says exactly.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, to me, it's very much like this kind of, Knights of the Round Table, this gallantry, right? Like, you are putting on this armor because you have earned it and you are here to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is, it's a code, and that's what he realizes, that there is purpose beyond just cooking. And he asks everybody that he works with, why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here?
Yes.
And he's finding out all these people who are not chefs.
Yeah.
That they just want to be there to serve.
Yes. There were so many great quotes in this episode that was said. Oh my gosh, hopefully I have the page. Okay.
Yes, I actually took notes.
Do you have Oh yeah. Yeah.
The start of the episode is this, my husband knows, because I'm not into sports. Coach K, they asked him a question, and he just goes on and on about how it's the most important thing is being part of a team, because you can't get there, meaning to win, alone. But to me, it's like in life, right? We are social beings, and we need other people to help us along.
We do.
Right? Nobody can do it alone.
No.
And the most important lessons of leadership are, number one, to change your limits. That failure is not a destination. When you're down, stay there, figure out how to get back up again and do it different.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to listen, stop talking, converse, go back and forth, which I thought was a beautiful thing. And I don't remember the third one because I was just enthralled by it. But those two things, I think, are very much, all of that beginning are lessons that Richie learns along the way in that week.
Yep. And I think too, saying like collaborating with people, you don't have to lose yourself when you work with someone else. If you are, then it's probably not the right match, but it's really working together with someone to bring out probably the best, in a way, of both of you. You can work independently, like you're independent, but you still need help from other people. Collaboration. I wanted to, some of the quotes, which obviously might just be, well, basically too, Garrett starts off and he says, every day here is the freaking Super Bowl. Like, that's how you want to feel. Their work is their life's purpose. That's what I got too. And that really life's purpose is to serve, but not in the way people might think, like being a servant. It's to serve other people, but that also brings you joy and purpose. And then
and every night I make somebody's day. That's how I can do this, because there's this woman, and she is the one saying, this dish for this table, go, go, go. She's just choreographing this whole thing. And he's sitting there watching this stressful thing happen and says, how can you do this? And she says, stand back, and she does all this stuff, and then she answers the question. He's like, what? And she's like, to answer your question. That's how I can do this.
Yeah.
Which is a real beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's
and
what
that forks are so important to this experience.
Yeah.
And I agree. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a restaurant and there's a dirty fork, and it's like, what else is wrong?
Totally ruins the mood.
Yes.
Totally takes you out of the experience. Because, you know, when you go out to eat, you kind of want to relax and you want to feel taken care of.
Yes.
You don't feel like doing it at your own home, because I don't. I was, like, also Chef Terry. Wait, was it Terry was the owner? Yes, Chef Terry, because they said Chef Terry. It's funny, my sister's name is Terry. Time well spent. Time should be time well spent. And that every second counts was also in there.
And never too late. They had that whole discussion about never too late.
Right.
Because he never found his purpose until this episode in life.
Yeah.
Right. It was always, and he didn't realize it. And this is something that happens, I think, to all of us. We don't realize we're already living our purpose sometimes. Like, he was taking care of his wife when she was pregnant. He's a good dad. And, you know, he wasn't the best husband, but he was doing his best, and all this ways. And he was helping the cousin who killed himself, you know, and supporting him. But this is an interesting thing that I discovered when I watched it again, that a lot of his past, purpose was he was being a chameleon to whoever he was around, because he didn't feel the confidence in who he actually was. And working in that space, he found himself. And I think that's why he was like, hey, do you need anybody? And they were like, no, we got somebody else coming in. And he feels all rejected because he doesn't realize that he can take himself anywhere and be that master of who he is.
Terry, I don't think I wrote it down. I think she said something around maybe like, I heard you were really good or something like that.
That he said, thanks for, I'm sorry my cousin asked you for a favor. And she said, I don't do favors.
Yeah.
He said, he said, why did you do this then? Because he believes in you.
Yes. Yeah.
And and that was, I'm paraphrasing because somebody might watch this episode. That's not what she said.
I know. I can't remember either. And I should have written it down.
But really, that's why, he believes in you. So I'm letting you be here. Right. Like that's powerful. And he did not believe that his cousin believed in him. He thought that his cousin was just ditching him.
Yeah. And it was really his cousin saw it in him, which is amazing. And that cousin also, Carmi, sees the potential in really all of his workers.
Many people.
Yeah.
And so many people.
Who honestly, around the first episode, I'm like, oh my, what is going on? These people are a mess. Like, I was like,
yes. Yes.
But yeah, it's just such a good show. That the music is great because they mix it up too. They had Taylor Swift playing at the end, which I didn't totally expect. I read briefly before I got on here, but I'm not going to remember exactly what they said, how that came to be. And they really didn't have a backup song. Like, they wanted that song to play at the end and for him to be singing it. And it refers to Tiffany, his ex-wife, because she tells him that she's gotten engaged. He did get Taylor Swift tickets for his
which
daughter.
We all know how hard that is to happen.
Yes.
So he made magic happen, just like he did at that restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. Again, him not realizing how powerful and masterful he is with this gift that he has. So he did that. He got the Taylor Swift tickets. And when that song came on, I grabbed my husband's arm and shook him, because I was like, it really was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that but we can make magic.
Yeah.
Like, magic exists in the world. We just have to make it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you make magic in your work.
I felt a lot of parallels in
Yeah.
this, like particularly in this episode, but also in the series of how trauma and life just weighs us down, and it takes someone to help pull this kind of purpose out of you or pull this yourself into the light.
Hmm.
I think we all are, dealing with things, listening to old programming or limiting beliefs that we've heard all our life. And
Yeah.
then, like, that's part of my purpose in life and work is to help people sift through that and sift out of that, those limiting beliefs and programming, and realize their truth and start talking to themselves like they matter. Like, believe in yourself because other people see it and you
Yeah.
don't see it yet. Like, to get to look in that mirror and see the truth about yourself and pull yourself up and have purpose. And that happened with other characters throughout the
Hmm.
series too, that somebody had them on the back and complimented them or stated who they really were, and they felt seen,
Yeah.
and that just woke something up in them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a lot of my work is doing that, like digging through the trauma and helping people really see themselves um, beyond that and through the old conditioning.